Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod bundle, and today we're talking about the 12 mods that I can't live without. I know, a totally original video idea that's definitely never been done before. In all seriousness, I'm still cleaning up my load order in preparation for the new year and lots of new mods to cover, but I'm still thinking about some of the really important mods to my load order. Last week we did talk about some of those must-have mods, and today I want to continue that idea by talking about some of the mods in my own personal load order that I can't live without. If you were to ask me for recommendations for your load order, these are definitely ones that I would be recommending myself because they're ones that I use in every single load order. They're pretty much never gonna leave mine. Now, to be completely honest, some of the mods in the last must-have video would absolutely be on this list, but I don't want to repeat content too soon. So if you want to see even more recommendations, feel free to check that out. It'll be linked down in the description. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the 12 mods that I personally cannot live without. And the first mod we've got you may have never heard of, and that is called Moon Boots Begone by Croc. It's a pretty interesting mod title, and right off the bat, you may not know what it does, but there are a handful of outfits in the vanilla game of Fallout 4 that have ridiculously sized shoes. Now, I know this seems like an issue that not many people would notice, but for me, it was kind of bizarre. There's so many cool outfits in Fallout 4 that I think are overshadowed by either bad design or possibly even some weird implementation on the character's body. And a lot of these outfits have these massive shoes, and this mod is just going to change it so that they no longer do. That's really it. There's not much more to it. Some of these bigger outfits no longer have massive shoes. There's not much more to it. It's Moon Boots Begone. They're gone. The shoes, no more biggie. That is all. The next mod we're checking out is another one that I absolutely have to have in my load order, and it's another minor quality of life fix, and that is known as No Throwing Arc for the Demolitionist perk by LilacLight. You'll notice pretty quickly here that a lot of these mods are fixes, but to me they're really crucial and really important in my load order. The No Throwing Arc mod is going to do something very simple. It's going to remove the throwing arc from the Demolitionist perk in Fallout 4. Now, if you didn't know, whenever you upgrade your explosive perk, it will add a throwing arc that allows you to see where the explosive is going, and to be honest, that's pretty cool and pretty handy. But any weapon that has custom animations has a possibility of breaking this perk. Now, not all of them, but a lot of times whenever you run a weapon with custom animations, the throwing arc will no longer be from the left side of the screen. It actually shoots out from the middle of your face, and a lot of times it becomes pretty much useless and just really obstructive. And so I just wanted to get rid of the whole thing. I want to be able to upgrade my Demolitionist perk and get better damage out of explosives, but I don't want to have this stupid arc. So having a mod that removes that is really, really nice. And the reason I included it on this list is because when I looked for this myself, it took me ages to find a mod that actually did what I was looking for. So if anybody else is going through the same problem, I hope this helped you. Alright, next mod. We have a lot of these, so I want to speed through them as quickly as possible. We have another very, very simple mod known as Rename Anything by Registrator 2000, and you know it's a great mod because it's made by Registrator 2000. This mod allows you to, as the name suggests, rename anything. You simply open up your console, click on any object or any NPC, and then type rename and then the name of whatever you want to rename it to. Now, this is absolutely wonderful for NPCs or settlers at your settlement. You can now rename them and give them proper names. You can rename any named NPC. So for example, if you have dog meat here, but you want to give them a different name, you can give them a different name. Really easy. For example, I have a German Shepherd in real life. His name's Zeus. I always rename dog meat to Zeus just so I can have my little buddy in my game. This even applies to different objects, so you can rename containers. You could take 3 identical footlockers and rename them to weapons, armors, and chems if you wanted to for better organization, which I think is really, really cool. Rename Anything is a very simple mod, but it comes in clutch all the time anytime you want to change the name of something. Pretty simple and self-explanatory, but this is a great one. Up next, a pretty recent release, but one that has found a permanent spot in my load order, we have Sprint Reload by FX0X01. Another one that's just so self-explanatory. This mod allows you to sprint and reload at the same time. Something thought impossible in Fallout 4, but now is just really easy to download and works immediately. It works in first person, it works in third person, and it works with any gun you can reload. Simply sprint and hit the reload button, and you'll be able to sprint and reload at the same time. Or hit the reload button and sprint, and the same thing is true. You can sprint and reload. Yeah, that's all it is. But it's really good. Okay, now for the next one, we have a very popular mod that is absolutely crucial to anybody who likes to build settlements, and that is Place Everywhere by TheLich. This is one you would have to fight me to remove from my load order. This one I seriously cannot live without. If I'm going to be doing any kind of settlement building, Place Everywhere is a must-have. Now, like the title suggests, this allows you to place items everywhere. Anywhere you could possibly imagine to place a settlement item, you can do so. But that's not all. There's actually a lot more to this mod than some of the other mods in this video. You can not only place things everywhere, but you have a bunch of other features that allow you to do really cool things, like disabling the boundary in your settlement, so you can go outside of the settlement to place objects and expand your settlement into new territory. You can also rescale items, so with the click of a button, you can make a wall smaller or larger, and it just works. It moves the snap points, and everything is really nice, so that's awesome. You also have some additional rotation controls, which are really cool, so you can do some fine adjustments on the fly, and there's a ton of hotkeys that give you awesome different quality of life improvements while you're building in your settlement. For example, you can disable snapping if you need to do some really fine adjustments on something that needs a bit more of a manual placement to make it look haphazard or whatever you need to do. You can also disable clipping with the floor, because in vanilla Fallout 4, I haven't had to build that way in a long time, but when I've had to, it's terrible to interact with the floor and the different objects. It's almost impossible to place anything where you want it. And having these two little quality of life features, being able to disable snapping and disabling the floor, allows you to get an item exactly where you need it to go. There are hotkeys on the numpad that will allow you to move objects forward, backward, up, down, left, right, close, and far with the easy press of a button. Rather than actually selecting the item and moving it around with your mouse, now you can do it with a hotkey, and you can set the increments in which you push these items. So if you have two items that are Z-fighting, you can scale it down to the smallest movement and just barely nudge this thing. Or if you have an entire set of walls that you would like to move down 10 notches, you can just set your scale and then press down in each individual object, and they will move identically. You don't have to worry about lining them up. It's just going to work because you're using math to your advantage. That's most of the big features with this mod, but there are a handful of little things that are also included, like being able to toggle whether or not items are stored. You can set all of the time scales and actual scales, rotation directions, how much you move. You can even change whether or not time is going while you're in the settlement mode, which is pretty cool. It's not going to suddenly be nighttime. You can constantly build in daylight. There's a lot of really cool features and customization with this mod. So if you somehow haven't checked out Place Everywhere, go check it out. And for those of you who are on console, you can't get Place Everywhere, but you can get Place Anywhere. So I'll have that linked for you guys. It's pretty similar in what you can do. There's some small changes, and the menus are a little bit different since you don't have a keyboard, but it has a lot of the same functionality. Alright, we spent a lot of time on Place Everywhere. There's a lot going on in that mod, but let's move on to something else. Let's talk about Makeshift Welds, a pipe retexture by Gmoy6. Now I know what you're thinking, Dak. Why on earth do you have a retexture in your must-have, cannot live without mods? And well, let me tell you, the pipe guns, which is what this mod targets for its retexture, are atrocious. They're bright orange. I know it's supposed to be rust, but that's just not how it came across in-game, and they are just an eyesore. The design of the weapons was bad enough, but then you apply bad textures to them, and I just don't even want to look at them. It's bad enough I don't want to pick them up, but when I see a raider with them, I get visibly angry. That's an issue. But luckily, Gmoy came along and made some beautiful retextures that make these weapons actually bearable to look at. If you can ignore the misaligned barrel and magazine, it's pretty cool. I think the pipe weapons look a lot better with this retexture, and anytime a mod makes use of these assets, which for Nif Bashers is pretty dang often, the items will now be a nice, wonderful gray with some really fine details, as opposed to the terrible bright orange of the vanilla game. Ever since Fallout 4 came out, there have been a handful of mods that attempt to retexture the pipe weapons to make them look a bit better, but I'm telling you, Gmoy's is the GOAT. It is the absolute best retexture for the pipe weapons. hard stop. There isn't a single better one out there in my opinion, and I think that's going to be true for a lot of you guys. Beautiful metal textures, the wood looks fantastic, everything in this mod is awesome, and there's even some inclusion of textures that make these weapons look a little bit more handmade, like the oil filter suppressor is actually an oil filter, which is really, really cool, and you can see all of the textures on that, and a couple other items in this mod as well, so awesome work by Gmoy. This one is absolutely a must-have. Next mod you see in pretty much every single video I release. It's another must-have for me, and that is the Immersive Animation Framework by AnotherOne. This mod is going to add animations to pretty much every single aid item in Fallout 4. Chems, foods, drinks, all of it. Whenever you use these items now, there's an animation for it. You see it all the time whenever I chug down my refreshing beverages in the B-roll that plays. I am using an animation mod that allows me to actually visibly see my character drinking, which is really cool. And it also makes it so you can't spam aid items, making it a bit of a balancing mod as well, which is pretty neat. And all of these animations are not only available for first person, but third person as well, which is awesome. If you're a third person player, you can actually see these aid items being used. It was really weird to me that in vanilla Fallout 4 they added animations for the stim packs, but absolutely nothing else. Well, AnotherOne has come along and fixed that by adding animations to everything, and that is fantastic. Again, every food, every chem, and every drink now has animations, and there's a ton of patches for other mods that add new aid items that will work with this mod, so that's really cool. A wonderful mod that, again, is a must-have if you're trying to add any immersion to your game. The next mod we're talking about is technically like 3 or 4 mods, but we're gonna limit it to just one. This mod is known as Lots More Hairstyles by Recluse. Now, there are actually a bunch of mods. There's a mod called Lots More Hairstyles for Men, a mod called Lots More Hairstyles for Women, and then another mod called Lots More Facial Hairs. And all of these mods are going to take vanilla assets and vastly increase the number of hair options you have for your character. Now, for me, somebody who really enjoys RPGs, the biggest part of an RPG is making your character, and when you're limited to how you can customize your character, I think that's an issue. And this mod adds a ton of options without being a heavy load because all of these assets are from the vanilla game, and it just adds a ton of customization that you wouldn't have otherwise. It's going to combine every possible combination of hairs into brand new styles that you wouldn't have seen prior. Are you a fan of mullets and pompadours? Well, now you can combine them into one cool, unique style, and there's probably 12 variations on that, so you can get the exact hair you want. If you have a hairstyle in real life that probably wasn't in the base game, it might exist now thanks to the combination of hairstyles in this mod. And again, there's a version of this for male characters, there's a version of this for female characters, and a version for facial hair. So if you don't want one of these mods because it doesn't apply to you, you don't have to get it. But for me, I download all 3 just in case I decide to make a character. I do have the options for them. It's a pretty minor thing, but I do love character creation in games, so having any way that I can expand on that in a lightweight mod file is pretty awesome. The link I have down in the description is for the male version of the hairstyles, but simply go over to Recluse's mod page if you'd like to grab the female file or the facial hair file. And there's some other really cool mods on Recluse's mod page as well, including some different things that change the looks of raiders and settlers. Just wanted to mention that if you're looking for something cool in that regard, but we'll cover that sometime in the future. Now, the next mod we're talking about is another must-have that I bet most of you are already running in your game, and that is Everyone's Best Friend by Valdacil. This mod allows you to take dog meat and another companion at the same time. Now, I know some of you are thinking, why would you even bother mentioning this mod? You can just get an unlimited companion framework that allows you to take any number of companions. Well, I don't play that way. Don't make me. I see the benefit of having only one companion at a time. Having a horde of slutty dressed women all cramped up into one single cell is just a bit cramped for me, so I understand why games only want you to have one companion at a time, and to be fair, that's how I prefer to play, especially with Fallout 4 where all of the companions have their own stories and dialogues and they're constantly interrupting you to tell you about their problems. I couldn't imagine doing that with more than just one Piper. But now you can carry one companion and dog meat at the same time. It's weird that they even included dog meat as a separate companion, and it's also clear that this was supposed to be a feature in the base game, as there are some interaction lines between different companions and dog meat. So this is something that should have been there, but I think just got cut at the last minute. But yeah, the idea of not being able to take dog meat because Piper is with you makes no sense to me. Your dog should be able to come anywhere you go, even if you've got a person traveling along your side. I mean, that's how it worked in New Vegas. You got to have Eddie or Rex as well as a human companion. It even said in the game you could have one human companion and one non-human companion. And this mod is basically going to bring back that functionality, which in my opinion is totally necessary. Alright, the next mod we're checking out is another sort of retexture. This mod is known as Fallout 3 and New Vegas style Feral Ghouls by TheFriedTurkey. This mod is going to completely replace all of the Feral Ghouls in the game with a new model that looks just like it did in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, although of course with some major graphical updates. These look much better than they did in the base game, but they still have that wonderful, wonderful style from Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3. Now, again, I'm sure you're screaming, why on earth is this a must-have? Why can you not live without this mod? Well, have you seen the vanilla Fallout 4 ghouls? Those things are awful, absolutely atrocious. I hate looking at them. Seriously, I don't even like fighting them because it means they're on my screen. This is terrible. They just look like weird naked thumbs. I don't like them. But the classic ghoul design I think is really, really cool. And now that we have a mod that brings that back into Fallout 4, why wouldn't I use that? And they even work with all of the cool vanilla clothes that are modular for ghouls in Fallout 4. It all just works. This is just going to remesh the actual bodies. All of the armors on top still work, which I think is really, really cool. Out of all of the Capital Wasteland releases that have come out so far, this one is still my favorite, absolute favorite of all of them. All of the new NPC replacers, all of the new weapons, all the new armors, doesn't matter. As long as I can have those feral ghouls, that's the most important mod they've made to me. And for the next mod, we actually have something kind of similar. This mod is known as Coyotes by Radiclown. Yes, Coyotes. This is actually a really, really new mod, but as soon as I saw it, man, I fell in love with it. This mod is going to add Coyotes as an NPC into the game, and the reason this is on my list is the same reason that the Feral Ghoul mod is on my list. These Coyotes actually replace the mongrel dogs in Fallout 4, which, again, if you've ever seen the vanilla Fallout 4 mongrel dogs, you know that they are atrocious. Again, these things are so ugly to look at. They look kind of like walking buttholes. But now we can replace them with wonderful, cute coyotes who will attack you instead, just like New Vegas. These guys will be roaming around the wastes, and they're pretty cool because they're really small and really sneaky, and if you're doing sort of a deserty playthrough, they really blend in with the environment. They will totally sneak up on you, and they still function exactly the same as mongrels. They travel in packs, and they're surprisingly beefy in the later game whenever you find some higher level enemies. Now, another interesting side effect of the Coyote mod is that these actually use a modified mesh of dog meat, and dog meat doesn't actually have any dismemberment, which means these coyotes don't have any dismemberment either. So, you may feel bad killing innocent little coyotes, but now, at the very least, they won't dismember, so you don't have to watch them absolutely explode like you would for any other NPC. That may be odd to some of you, but for me personally, I don't like the idea of killing dogs, and coyotes are a pretty dang close relative, so at very least they go semi-peacefully whenever you do have to put them down in this game. Morbid topic, let's move on. Alright, next mod. This one is crucial. If I had to pick one mod out of all of these mods, this might be the one. So first, this needs a little bit of context. Have you ever seen the Institute laser rifle or laser pistol in the game? I bet you have, and I bet you immediately stopped using it because that thing is an eyesore. Now, it may not be the most attractive design in third person, but in first person, this thing is atrocious because it takes up like literally half of your screen. Even when you're using the laser pistol version, it's still just so big and so boxy. The boxiness, I get it, it's an aesthetic thing, but why does it need to be so large? Well, we're gonna fix that with the mod Laser Weapons First Person Reposition by Akira4, or Akira. I'm just not putting that together. Huh. Anyways, this is going to completely reposition the Institute laser rifle into a new position that looks so much better. It's still a big boxy weapon, but now in your hands it's not as massive and it doesn't take up nearly as much space. And this applies to not only the Institute rifle, but the Institute pistol as well. And it actually applies to the vanilla laser rifle and laser pistol. The vanilla laser rifle and laser pistol weren't that bad as far as I was concerned, but this does reposition them just a little bit. It's not nearly as noticeable as it is with the Institute weapons, but it is a nice improvement that does scoot the gun forward a little bit and lets you see a little bit more of it. It's like having an FOV change without actually having an FOV change, which I think is pretty neat. Again, this is one of those minor things, but it's so huge to me, and if you're somebody who's always wanted to try using the Institute weapons, because they are decent, this is a great mod, especially if you're playing an Institute character. You're going to need to pick those things up at some point, and this mod is going to really help them be bearable in first person. Now, that is all 12 must-have mods, or 12 mods that I can't live without, but there actually is going to be a bonus 13th mod. This mod is actually the whole reason I made this video, and somehow whenever I compiled all my mods, I forgot about it entirely, so I think that's pretty funny. So you guys get a bonus mod, and that mod is the Fallout 4 photo mod by, again, Registrator 2000. He really is just the best at making these quality of life mods. The Fallout 4 photo mode is going to be the ultimate mod for getting the most beautiful screenshots you could imagine. And, in my opinion, it's pretty good at taking videos as well. I use it every day. Every single day I make a YouTube video, this mod is in use. If you're watching B-roll, it's because I'm filming it with the photo mode. It's fantastic. There are so many features available in the Fallout 4 photo mode. This one is essential. Anybody who's taking screenshots without this is living in the Stone Age. First of all, this camera is standalone from your character, so you can take pictures of not only everything else in the world, but yourself as well. You get to change the field of view on the camera, you get to change the brightness, the contrast, and the saturation all on the fly, as well as the tint of the photo. If you have a specific color you want it to be, you can make it sepia tone, black and white. It's really up to you. You can change the roll on the photo if you want to add a little bit of a dynamic to the photo that makes it more interesting and aesthetic. You can turn on depth of field even if you're not using an EMB, which I think is a must-have for those of you who don't have the option to run them. You can still get really great screenshots with this mod. For those of you who are trying to film things, you can turn on or turn off time, so you can actually freeze time to film something standing still, or you can turn time back on if you want to get photos or videos of things moving in real time, which is pretty cool. And a really neat feature, which I've only really started utilizing recently, is the player section that allows you to manipulate the player while you're filming or taking photos of them. So this only applies to your own personal character, but you can rotate your character, lift them up and down, move them left and right, and of course push them closer or further away, which doesn't seem like a big deal. Why wouldn't you just move beforehand? Well, if you're using a posing mod, your character is pretty much locked in place. This mod will allow you to move them in real time while you're using the photo mode, or alternatively, if you wanted to take a picture next to another NPC and you just weren't exactly in the right position, you can very easily just nudge your character over and put them exactly where you want. I'm telling you, the photo mode is fantastic if you're a content creator or somebody who just likes to get really nice screenshots. And this is just going to be a small little suggestion. If you're a mod author out there, download this mod. It's going to let you get fantastic screenshots, and believe it or not, those thumbnails really help out your mod performance. If you ever release a mod you worked on pretty dang hard and it just doesn't have a good thumbnail, sometimes it'll get lost in new. But giving it a nice snazzy thumbnail that really shows off what you're actually featuring in your mod, it's gonna help the performance. It really will. So just keep that in mind if you're an aspiring mod author out there. So yeah, must have mods. Fallout 4 photo mode, can't live without it, at least in regards to content creation. This one is fantastic. But that's going to wrap it up. 13 new mods that hopefully you found at least one new one to throw into your load order. And if you somehow had all of these already, well, congrats. We're basically the same person, and you deserve an award for that. I can't really give you one, but let me know in the comments and I'll give you one of those little hearts or whatever. Yeah. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. These mod bundles are a lot of work to make, but they sure are fun. I love giving you guys mod suggestions. I know that's why you're here, and being able to give you as many as possible, it's really fulfilling. We'll have another cool one next week talking about all of the big mods of 2022. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll have a mod coming very soon with an update on the attachment pack. We'll be talking about plasma rifle parts. But until then, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a rating. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. We do them all the time. A big ol' shout out to all of my wonderful patrons, and a very special thank you to Avian4, Captain Chaos, Helljumper, Indecisive Wolf, Cushy58, Logan Rigmaiden, Miker Han, Moonlit Gamer, Feed, Timmy76, Youth RC, and Voider for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. You guys are awesome. If you'd like to help support the channel over on Patreon, you can do so using the link down in the description, but it is completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace!